Hello everyone.
What's up, guys?
Um Welcome to
Our first review.
our first movie review. XB equals LOTW movie reviews. Um there will be more to come for the movie reviews and whatnot. But our first one is gonna be about Shin Godzilla or Godzilla Resurgence. Uh whichever you prefer. Alright, so before we start the actual review, I love Godzilla. I grew up watching the movies since I was a kid. Even though a lot of them are cheesy and stupid, I love them. They're just really fun to watch. And these past few years have been pretty good for a Godzilla fan, especially with Godzilla 2014 and right now Shin Godzilla.
I couldn't care less about Godzilla.
Yeah, he's not a Godzilla fan. We both like movies though. We really like movies. So, for those of you that don't know who Godzilla is, basically is a giant monster created by the mistakes of mankind through nuclear weapons or nuclear waste in this movie. And it's pretty much a metaphor for what mankind is doing to this planet. You know, we're destroying it, right? So basically, this movie, it's a reboot to the original 1954 Godzilla. And it has that same tone that the original had. You've never seen the original, so
Nope.
you wouldn't know. Like the original, it's got the same themes, and it's it can be pretty dark at times, and that's how it connects to the original. So
I mean, the Japs usually have a really good message throughout their movies.
that is true. What I really liked about this movie is how menacing it could be. Godzilla was just amazing. He looked awesome. I really liked the 2014 Godzilla, but I mean, it still wasn't Godzilla, you know. This guy was exactly like Godzilla. Uh, the arms, the arms could have been longer.
His first form looked like a paper mache dragon.
Yeah. Um, I guess it's not really too much of a spoiler that Godzilla has three forms in this, or technically four, but we don't see his first one. So three forms in this movie, and that first form we see is like, it looks like a tadpole, a really dumb looking tadpole.
I don't know about a tadpole. It just
Well,
looks
to
like a
me,
paper mache lizard.
it looks like a freaking tadpole, a weird looking tadpole. And then the second form was just, it was the same except arms, pretty much, right?
He started looking somewhat decent.
And then the last one was freaking,
He looked good.
yeah, I'd be scared if I saw that in real life. Now, Godzilla was great. The directing style of the movie, cinematography was great. The director of this movie is also behind Evangelion, so it kind of has like that anime feel, like the extreme close-ups with them saying something like metaphorical or something like Godzilla is a god,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, I personally felt the movie was at times very confined to a certain setting, such as an office or a meeting room, and I just feel like most of the movie never left that except towards the end.
Yeah, most of this movie was pretty much Office, Godzilla, and Office.
Yeah, and then they
And
run
that's
away.
it. Yeah, and running a few scenes of running away, which brings us to another point. A lot of this movie is all about the politics that went in. It was just all planning and talking, which there really isn't a problem with talking. I think this movie just had a little too much of it, right?
Yeah.
They talk so much, but never really like made us feel connected to the characters. You know what I mean? Like to be honest, I never really like.
Yeah, no, there were a crap ton of characters.
Yeah, I
There
never
wasn't
really felt.
really a main character.
Yeah, I never really felt anything for anyone. except for the main guy that has a plan to stop him. Because everybody else is just, there's way too many characters. There's this guy and that guy over here.
Yeah, they literally named everybody with subtitles.
That's another point. Something I didn't like about this movie is how every time somebody's face popped up, it'd be like the Japanese characters burnt into the video, into the footage, and over that, the yellow subtitles, and it'd be like Prime Minister of Agriculture, and it'd say his name up top, and for like the first 15 minutes of the movie, every single character that popped up, with the exception of like two, had that. And it went like that throughout the movie, but it was a little subtle throughout the movie. But those first 15 minutes were just boo, boo. You know? There wasn't too much character development, in my opinion, you know?
Yeah.
There was just way
They
too
could
many.
have elaborated more in the beginning too, with the guy who originally discovered Godzilla.
Yeah, they could have definitely gotten more depth with that. Because obviously he had a dark past. Like, you know, we'll mention it a little later when we have spoilers. But he goes through something in his life and pretty much discovers Godzilla, right? And they could have definitely gone into more depth with that. You know,
Yeah.
there's one girl that is supposedly American, and I think this will bother more American audiences, but she's American and she barely spoke English. You could have just,
They could have just gotten a real American.
as an actress, yeah. I mean, she was good. I mean, as actors, everybody was good in the movie. They obviously did what they had to do, but like I said before, there was no actual like depth in them. You know.
Yeah.
Going back to the original Godzilla, there was a lot of original music from that first Godzilla that me personally as a Godzilla fan had me all giddy. I was really happy hearing that. Like, to a lot of the audience, it was probably just like, that's cheesy. I don't know how you felt about it.
I mean, I've heard the scores before. It's not like those were the first time. That was the first time I heard the scores for Godzilla. I've heard them before, so I kind of knew what they were. I mean, they were alright. It wasn't anything that threw me off or anything, but it wasn't anything that amazed me, you know.
I loved it, like I said, because I grew up with this, and obviously Godzilla 2014 didn't have those music cues, but it's alright. I was talking to someone earlier. He said that the first two acts of the movie were great, and then the third act, it got too silly. It's the way how they handle Godzilla, I guess. It just seems kind of like it was kind of like lazy writing, if you ask me, because there was something that was happening, and it just stops, you know. There's calmness for like a good 24 hours in movie time, right? And then it continues, so it's like, I mean, they could have written something else, like this was happening during those 24 hours, you know.
Yeah.
Alright, we're gonna actually put a spoiler warning here, because I feel like to talk about this movie more in depth, it'd be easier to just spoil, right? So, spoiler warning. The character we mentioned before, the professor who discovered Godzilla, pretty much, and I thought this was pretty neat. His wife dies. This is all said in the movie, it's not showed. But his wife dies because of what? Nuclear, like she gets some like radiation sickness or something.
Yeah, something like that. And
then he's mad at mankind because it's humanity's fault that, you know, these weapons and this thing known as radiation exist, right? And he ends up discovering Godzilla. He tries to tell him. They make fun of him.
And he gets kicked out of certain associations in schools. So he's like pretty much a laughing stock, you know?
So now he's the only one in the world that knows about Godzilla, and he's not making an effort because he's mad at humanity, and nobody would listen to him in the first place. So now it's like, Like he says in the movie, deal with it, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Deal with it yourself. Deal with it however you like. I think is what it was. What I wished is maybe we could have like seen a few flashbacks,
Yeah, maybe.
or maybe even have him still alive. Cause or in the movie nobody knows where he is, but I'm assuming he's dead because they find his boat at the beginning and it's abandoned, and all the Godzilla information is in there. But it would have been cool to have him alive
Yeah.
and some type of consultant, even though he's mad. Like, you gotta tell us what's going on, and he's like, no, this and that. It's like, and then they finally convince him. That would have been cool. So like, transitioning into another thing, that the thing that happened in the third act that made it feel silly was Godzilla's attacking, right? And he just freezes. He just stands there for like 24 hours doing nothing. He just stands there, and then that's the time when they choose to like plan stuff and whatnot. But I wish he would have probably went back to the ocean or something and then comes back. That would have made a little bit more sense because he just. So I felt like that was kind of lazy writing. I mean, Godzilla is attacking and then he stops. And then another thing that made it a little silly, which to me mostly it's kind of 50-50. It was I felt it was more ballsy, you know, of the characters to do this. Obviously, it's kind of silly if you're writing it down, but they choose to knock Godzilla down, drive up to his mouth, and spray this what was it, coagulant,
Yeah.
to freeze him into his mouth. So you have two teams of cranes literally driving up to his mouth while he's just laying there, knocked out for minutes, and they're trying to. Now, in the original Godzilla was a little bit more dark that how they took care of Godzilla. My favorite part of the movie is Godzilla and the cinematography slash shots. Acting was decent. Plot could have been better.
Yeah. You know.
And character development definitely could have been better. But that's honestly, I give this movie probably like, if we're gonna do a letter grade, I'll give it like a solid B. If we're doing numbers, I give it like an 80 or like an 8. What do you think?
I mean, the movie was fun to watch, probably from the middle, maybe a little bit towards the end. But there were obviously some parts where it was just kind of boring. You know, it was just people talking. But, I mean, for the most part, I remained interested and attentive to what was going on, so I never really got lost. I give it a 7.5. It was alright. It was fun to watch, but the plot wasn't anything special.
The movie, for those of you that haven't seen it, the movie was originally only supposed to be in theaters here in the U.S. up until the 18th of October. But because it was doing so good, they moved it, I think, until the 27th. So you still have a few more days to catch Godzilla. So, keep an eye out if you really want to see it. All right, I think that's it, right?
Yep.
All right, peace.